Well, we had an amazing time in Haiti, and our goal this morning is to share some of that with you and to bring you along in our trip. You know, as we do missions as a church, it's not just an isolated experience for some people that go. It's something that our whole church gets behind, and we're all a part of this. And so today we wanted to share with you some of the stories. We're going to take the balance of our time to kind of walk you through what we're doing and what Antioch is a part of in Haiti. Now, Haiti is this unique and crazy place. It was once known as the jewel of the Caribbean. It was jungle and it was beautiful. And after decades of government corruption and the people living in abject poverty and stripping the land, it is now one of the poorest nations in the world. In fact, it has been ranked the most poor nation in the entire world when you look at the potential of the people to get out of their poverty. That's because the nation itself doesn't have a lot of natural resources, and they've already stripped all of the forests and all of the trees, and there's nothing left. And so they live on less than $1.50 a day. If they can find work for the day and feed their family, they're lucky if they get one meal. It's an incredible experience to go into that kind of poverty, but also to see God's hand in it. They are a simple and fabulous people. They love Jesus, and it's so fun to worship alongside of them and to see God at work in this nation. You know, in 2010, I believe it was the earthquake. It was a 7.0, and it rocked Haiti. Port-au-Prince was in ruins. And it was out of that the Holy Spirit began to do a new work in Haiti. And a lot of different organizations came, and they started to do work. But it was really the church that rose to the top and was meeting the need. There was a lot of people that came in, and money was flying all over the place, but not a lot of it was filtering down to actual help for the people. But it was the church that came in and started to give the hope of the gospel, along with meals and water and physical, tangible needs, meeting needs. And there has been something of a move now where the church is taking off and God's kingdom is expanding. And it's incredible to see the growth of this. And so Connect 2 Ministries, which we partner with, has been at work since before the earthquake, doing orphan care in Haiti, and now is really focusing in on that topic. And so you're going to hear more about that. In fact, our team was focused really in 3 areas, and I'd like to invite John Denton, Hope Denton, and Monica James to come up to the stage, and they're going to share with you. And as you hear from the different team members this morning, we want to give you the opportunity to ask questions. And we're going to have a time at the end of our service where we're going to get to read some of your questions. So as you hear them sharing, if you have a question that you'd like to ask, either specifically about something that's shared or in general about Haiti or the ministry or what's going on, there's a number right here. You can text your question to that number, and we'll get those, and we will get to read some of those on stage here. So please participate. Ask questions. If there's something that pops in your head, go ahead and text it, and so that we can ask our panel, ask some of our team members, and answer those questions. So I want to start off with some updates about what our team actually did while we were there. And so, Monica, would you share with us about the kids ministry and what we did with the training aspect of the children's workers?
Good morning. Okay. So we started our week doing a training for Haitian church leaders. We were training them in children's ministry and how to develop a children's program. So John had created a curriculum. There was probably about 60 Haitian church leaders there, representing about 11 churches in the area. And the training or the seminar went on for about 4, maybe 5 hours, with no breaks. Everybody was just dialed in, and they broke into groups. They developed like a theme for their program. They came up with Bible verses that would relate to that theme, and then John went on about activities and crafts and things that they could do. Just really encouraging them to be creative with whatever resources they had that they could use for the kids. Then they broke off into groups and kind of they just started praying for each other. John asked them to pray for members of the other churches, and so they kind of mixed in with each other, and they were praying for about 15 minutes. It was the most amazing thing just to listen to their prayers. We were praying with them. I think there was a clip in the video of them just praying, and it was just awesome to just see them coming together that way. Later that night, we met with Greg Barshaw from Connect 2 Ministries, and he shared with us that the ultimate plan is that these 11 churches that we trained would then train 10 more churches, and then those 10 churches would train churches. And, within however many years it takes, just how the churches will be spread through Haiti, and these children will all know Jesus. So it's exciting for all of us to be a part of something like that.
Give it to Hope. Yeah, this was a shift. This was the first time that we've done something like that, that training. And, we've done a lot of trips down there now, and every time we go, we do a kids program. And so we've packed out churches, and we've had these amazing times with the kids. And this time we thought, we've done this so many times, it's time to start passing the baton to raise up the Haitian leaders. And that's one of the values that we have and that Connect 2 has. And one of the things that unites us so strongly together is that that value for empowering locals, and that we're not going down and creating dependency on the American church to come in and do the show and put on the program, and then we're gone and they can make do with what they have. We want to train them. We want to train leaders. We want the churches to be thriving on their own, and we want to be encouraging and challenging and training and championing from the background. And so this was an opportunity, and it's the first time that they've done this, to bring together 11 different churches, like about 60 different leaders, and really train them on what's the value, what's the purpose behind children's ministry, really valuing the next generation, what that looks like, and how we can invest in them, and how we can use all of the senses to make the Bible come alive for these kids. And so it was a really powerful time of getting to invest in those churches. And then, as Hope will share in just a second, we got to partner with those leaders then the rest of the week as we did 4 different children's programs on 4 different sites. And those leaders came and joined us and actually led some of the breakout discussion. In fact, on the video, you saw some of the Haitians working with the kids, and that was them responding to the lessons that we were teaching, and they were the ones that were teaching the kids and helping the kids engage the material and interact with it and discover for themselves the lessons of the lost coin and the lost sheep. And so it was pretty awesome to see them get trained and then right into doing the stuff. So Hope, would you share with us just what our VBS time looked like and what stood out to you about that time?
Yeah, so this year, this is only my second trip there. So the VBS this year was completely different than when I was there 3 years ago, because we were so focused on having their own leaders do everything. So it was kind of odd for us to have to get used to taking a step back and letting their own kind of take over. I would go to pass out crayons and someone would just grab it from me and go to pass it out instead. But it was really awesome to see all the leaders' willingness and their heart and their passion for their kids and their church. I mean, they were all about it. Even the translators, we had 5 translators who were with us all day, every day. They are so awesome, fantastic. They just were all in it. If you guys see, I don't know if they had a video, they would lead worship with just one person here, no music or anything, just singing. And these kids were so into it, which was so awesome to see. And the leaders were right on with it as well. So it was just really cool experience to this year be more of with the kids instead of just passing things out, to be with the kids and sit with them as they worship. That was an awesome experience this time around that we got to do. So
That's cool. And yeah, thank you, Hope. Also, this year was a little unique in that they limited each of those 4 locations to 100 kids. And normally they'll put the word out, and we could have 300 or 400 kids, which sounds incredible, and it is an incredible opportunity to have that many kids. But there was really something unique this year about having 100 kids that it allowed us to invest deeper in those children. And so we were able to break out into discussion groups for the first time. We've never done that before. That was a new concept or a new trial run this time. And it only worked because we had smaller amounts, and it really helped the kids to go a lot deeper with the material. We want, and Greg really encouraged us to think about really planting the gospel deep in these kids' lives, because they're the hope of the nation. They're the hope of reaching that nation for Christ. And so we don't want to just bring together kids for fun and games. We want it to be fun but meaningful and deeply impacting with the gospel. And so it was cool to have those the smaller groups and have that help. So you also saw the other side that we've been doing there over the years is helping with the actual building of the buildings there and building the tangible wood structures that house the ministry. And so Antioch has been a part of really building what's happening there from the ground floor up. And so I won't go into too much detail. I'll let John do that because he's going to walk us through kind of an overall picture, not just of this trip, but what we as a church have been participating in as we've been going down to Haiti over these years. So John, would you like to kind of walk us through that a little bit?
All right. So, well, first of all, I don't know if we mentioned, we're all dressed up not because we totally wanted to.
What?
But because, well, we
I
did
totally
want
wanted to. No.
It might have been my idea. But anyways, this is how the Haitian people dress at church. They come out of their shack or their little whatever they're living in. I mean, literally, some of them have a shack. Some of them are lucky to have a shack, and they come out looking better than us. So we thought, you know what, we'll do a little Haitian style. So I'm going to try to go over the last 4 years of construction in like 5 minutes. So if I sound a little bit like an auctioneer, that's because I'm going to sound a little bit like an auctioneer. What I did is I put together a little slideshow that keeps moving and has a definite end, because I could talk about each one of these slides for 5 minutes. But anyways, we started already. So back in 2014, there's Pastor John. Pastor John was on the team back then. We built the warehouse on the compound at Puisa's compound the first time. When we started, that church right there was all that was on that big compound. That's the warehouse building that we built in 2014. That's what Puisa's church looked like. Harold gave me a little laser pointer so I could play with that at some point maybe. So here's a church, and then down on the right there, you can't really see with that, is a medical clinic. And then came the building behind the church, which is dormitories and the kitchen. Remember that building with the red roof on the top was the warehouse. There's Lindsay back in 3 years ago. We got to help do some finished work. Those are handmade cabinets with no power tools. That's what the dormitories looked like a few years ago, 2 years ago. And this is the best picture I have, but that's what they look like now, all painted and nice. And that's kind of what they look like now. So this is the compound. This is Puisa's church. You can recognize the cinder blocks and boards. That's Hope and Josh from a couple years ago. That's what it looked like. That's the inside. Again, cinder blocks and boards, nothing much else. This is what the church looked like this time. We've got power. He's got ceiling fans, tile, new pews. It's neat to see how that has changed over the last years. So here we go. So the very top are dormitories, dorm kitchen. Red on the left, kind of red still, is the church, warehouse, clinic, and all that framing down the left-hand corner is the area that's going to be the trade schools. The trade schools are going to teach, especially the orphans, before they turn 18 and they have to move on, trades. So that's what it looks like now. It is now has roofs. There's another building now, too. They're going to have, going to be a culinary arts school. There's a kitchen in that building. There's sewing. They're going to have welding. They're going to have raising rabbits, raising chickens, automotive repair. So that's really exciting. Here's our team from 2015. In 2015, we had a smaller construction job. That's Frankie's house. House being a little relative term. That's the house he was trying to build for 5 years when he was unable to finish. We were able to give him some resources to finish the block, put a flat roof on that house in 2015, and that's what it looked like after we were done. And the next picture, I think, so that's where he was living, and that's where he and his family, I think 4 kids, moved into. And then that's a bathroom. There's 2 toilets in there that we were actually able to build for a neighbor that was living across the street. 2016, 2 years ago, that is when we got to start on the Regency Orphanage. That is one of the dormitories at the Regency Orphanage. That's the Regency Orphanage. Nothing there except for that building that we're working on and another building. That's where they house the slave rescue kids. Okay, those are our trusses. I think those are like 44-foot trusses that year. Those are big and heavy. And that's us pushing one up the side to try to get up top. And there it is when we were done. So we put, I don't remember how many trusses it was. Now this is Regency Orphanage as of a year or so ago. In the front there is a soccer field. We were told 3 years ago that the goal was to have this soccer field to be used for the community. There's the 2 dorms. The red building in the middle is like a pavilion. That's the soccer field on our last trip. They had a 6-team soccer tournament going on that week, and it wasn't church teams. It was teams from the community. It was really exciting to see. October 2016, Eric and Bob and I were able to go after the hurricane and build some houses. I threw this in here just because it's another construction project that was funded by Antioch. We had a lot of help/observers on that trip, mostly observers. That's not my best look, but yeah. There's Eric and Bob, and we just built these things, 3 little houses, 12 by 12s. There's the community come out going, what are these white people doing? There's 2 of them, and then we built a 3rd. And the really cool thing about this was when we went back, I was able to go back on that Christmas trip, and we were able to go by there, and these are the 3 families that were living in the houses that we built. We were able to meet them, and that was really cool. 2017, that's last year. Last year, we were able to build Pastor David's church. He tore down what little shanty thing he had going up there. We got there, that's what it looked like. Started from scratch, setting posts. That's John McHale. There's John McHale. He's here. Putting up headers. Making trusses again, not quite 44-footers, which was nice, but there's the trusses. John Looney up there doing it. This is when I broke my wrist, by the way. But anyways, that's another story. And there it is. And that's what it looked like when we left last year. I didn't have a picture, but one of those VBSs they did this year was in Pastor David's church, which is really cool. That's our team from this year. That's actually when we got back because we forgot to take a picture. But anyways, there's Pastor Puis rocking his Antioch shirt and hat. Look at that. And he was stoked about that. So there's the Regency Orphanage. They're calling it Regency 1. Right now there's boys and girls, I believe 76. That land across the street, they purchased it. That's where Regency 2 is. That's where we're working this time. So now we're doing a whole separate Regency Orphanage. The only building there, or there's a couple, that's the pavilion right there that's going to be the pavilion. That's us putting up the posts. Again, we had 22 posts. This is a really long building. It was 84 feet long. 24-foot trusses, which were a lot nicer to move around than 44s, I'm telling you. That's us working, and the headers. We said you guys saw these pictures in the first thing, but that's just the process that we go through when we build these things, and that's it when it's done. And then I think this is what it looks like to put 44-foot trusses on a 15-foot box truck, in case anyone ever was wondering. Another team was there doing it, and this is Regency 2. This is going to be, so they're going to have the girls here and the boys on the other side where the soccer field is, and they're going to do some special stuff there. One thing I didn't say that's really cool about the compound, and this is just amazing to me, and it's Greg Barshaw has told me that 9 churches from the United States were involved in building that compound. And it's one church, right? It's God's church, and it's us coming together, which is really what it's all about. But I just love the fact that 9 different churches came together and have a hand in that one compound, which is pretty crazy. So anyways, that's Haiti in the last 5 years.
All right. Thank you, guys. So it's really cool to know that we as a church, Antioch Church, we have built 2 churches there. We have built multiple houses, and we have been part of building the compound there where the ministry functions out of. And now we've been part of building both of the different orphanages that are going to be running there. So it's pretty cool that God has given us this opportunity. You know, when you hear about these orphanages, you have to understand the bigger context of what's going on here. So there was a huge orphan care need after the earthquake. There was, they build with what you saw, those block walls. And when those block walls come down, people get hurt. And it left a lot of orphans in the nation. But there's also another issue in Haiti that Connect 2 is really taking on, and it's beginning to be one of the primary focuses of the ministry there. And that is among the Restavik kids. Restavik is a term in Haiti that means a slave child. And Haiti has over 300,000 kids that are in slavery. And that could be either labor or sexual slavery. And it's not against the law. Slavery is actually not against the law in Haiti. Mistreatment of people is against the law, but the actual slavery is not against the law. And so what's happening is when there's mistreatment that is reported, the government will go in and remove a child, and they take these children to Connect 2, and they say, will you care for this child? And that's what the Regency Orphanage has become. That's what its primary goal is to rescue these kids out of horrendous situations and give them a place where they can experience family, they can experience hope, and they can experience Jesus Christ. And so you saw John described how they're actually developing training centers where these kids can grow up with a church family and then actually acquire the skills to live on their own. And with less than 50% literacy rate in Haiti, this is a gift to these children, that they will live their lives with a skill of being able to develop business and commerce, and the whole time being connected to a family. So we wanted to give you some personal testimonies also. So go ahead, guys. Kim and Dawn and Lori and who's my other one? Just you guys. Okay, come on up here. One of the things that I love is challenging our newcomers to a team to share their experience, because they see Haiti through a different lens. They see with fresh eyes the unique experience of going. And so I've asked Lori and Dawn and Kim if they would share just a thought or an experience that stood out to them. So Lori, would you go ahead and share with us?
Well, you didn't. Is it on? Yeah. You didn't tell me just to share a thought. No, but it's a privilege. It's a privilege, and I just want to thank you, first of all, to our church family. Doggone it. Why'd you put me first? I'm going to cry. For allowing me to go. It's a privilege. It was a privilege. And not so much, it was a personal journey for me, because when God calls you to go, and you know when he calls you to go, because usually you're like, no, he didn't say that. Right? That's how you know. And but he called me to go. For me, that is. But I always wanted to go. But it, thanks, Harold. But I knew this time around, I'd gotten laid off. I don't know if you guys know, but I got laid off in October. So, and that was when Julie Jordan always was like, are you going to go to Haiti this time? Because she knew it was on my heart. And inside of me, I knew the Lord was like, it's time to go. And I'm like, what? I just lost my job. How am I? All those thoughts. But then he gave me peace, and I let it go. I gave it to him and said, well, you're calling me to go. So that means you're going to open up the doors for me. And he did. He really did. And, to the point where there was no, I didn't fear anything going into Haiti. I just knew that he called me to go. And I knew if I was obedient and going, he would take care of everything else. And he did. He did. With the sponsorship, with my family and friends who believed in the cause. And so when I went, it wasn't about saving, rescuing the poor Haitians. I knew what our mission was. I knew that it was to equip them so that they can further their ministry with their own people. So my job was just to go in humility and to be the hands and feet. And it was so awesome because, like John was saying, the people there are just so amazing, beautiful, and their faith is just so simplified. And as you hear a lot, we're just so distracted here. And so it was neat to be able to worship pure-heartedly with the Haitians, and to just experience God in that place. And again, let me remind you, this was my first time out of the country, period. So going to Haiti was like, I knew that the Lord was just going to speak. And I remember when we got to the airport and drove to the compound, it was like, all I've seen, probably the worst, was with maybe like Skid Row, So I remember driving and looking at the terrain, being like, okay, slums, trash, and you think you're going to end up in the suburbs. It just keeps going and going, and you're just like overwhelmed. I was so overwhelmed. And to think that my 2-bedroom townhouse that fits 5 people is poverty, like, I will never, ever think that again. I'm so grateful. And but it challenged me, because their faith over there is pure, and it challenges me that even in the circumstances that I'm in, really the enemy hit me when I came back home. When I was there, I didn't get sick, nothing. Like, thank the Lord, I didn't. And it was only until I came back here that I got hit. So I knew that he was doing something. He was doing something great, because the enemy wanted to attack me to steal my joy. And I met beautiful people, Ty's here, and that was a blessing. And to just be encouraged from her, and to be reminded that that's how he works. The enemy will come full force. Has it been 3? Oh shoot. Okay. So see what I'm saying? So if you want to, I'm sorry, but if you want to talk to me more, thank you. Just thank you, guys.
Hi, I'm Don Kalma, and I was asked late in the game to go on this trip, and John came up to me because one of the people had to drop out because of medical issues, and he asked me to think about it, and I did, and I made the decision to do it. I prayed about it and made that decision. And the trip was the most powerful trip I think I've ever done. It was, from the flight there, the contrast from the United States to landing in Haiti and seeing the poverty that's there, was very, very humbling. It touched me. The first day, I wept. It's to see how these people live, and yet they're all happy. The children are the ones that just totally amazed me. They're always smiling. They were willing to help. We did construction, and these kids would come every day and want to be part of it. They'd want to help. They want to build their community, and that was really touching. One day there was a couple of kids that had come out on the construction site, and I had my cell phone with me, and I handed it to them, and they were taking selfies. They loved it. They're taking pictures of themselves and looking at them. And after that, I went back out and I was working, and I just, again, started crying. And it's because God's touching you. And it's tough to see, but I have to say the Haitian people are strong, courageous people. They every day, every morning at 5:30 in the morning or 5 o'clock, you start seeing the Haitians walking down the street, down a dirt road, coming from their little makeshift houses that they have, and they come into church every day, not one day a week, every day, and they pray, and they praise the Lord. And it really makes you think, how humbling that is. And then we would come back every day from construction, tired and beat, and we'd have dinner, and we'd have our meetings. And Greg Barshaw was there, and he would ask some questions that would seriously make you wonder your faith. You would just, where am I with my faith? Because he would ask questions that would really bring you to the Lord. I would go to bed every night and I would ask the Lord for forgiveness. And, you know, I have to say, it was a tough experience for me. I'm not the youngest guy on the team, I'm sure, and my back's still hurting. But but I gotta say that it was probably, it was the probably the greatest experience I think I've ever had. It was amazing, and I think the people in Haiti need our prayers.
Hi, I'm Kim. I'm not going to say it in Creole. You know, I'm not a stranger to missions. I was a missionary in Colombia and also in Honduras, and then I went back and kind of lived like a Honduran, and Honduras is a poor country. But when I got to Haiti, Honduras and all of its poverty kind of paled in comparison. Just like Lori was saying, our family's been going through a real rough season. Financially, my husband has lost his job, and we have no benefits, and just one thing after another. Had to put our dog down. My car died 2 days before we left. It just kept going one after another. But I'm so thankful that I got to go on this trip, and I just want to encourage anybody, because I also I've been doing different missions trips, but I knew I was supposed to go to Haiti, and this time I just kept telling everybody, okay, I'm going to go to Haiti, and this time I knew I was supposed to, and it was the perfect timing. God's timing is so perfect, because it just put all my first world problems into perspective. It was, and you know, you always hear it. When you're depressed, what's the thing that can best pull you out of your depression? Go and help somebody else. And it was just a gift from God at this time in my life to go into what I know is a calling of mine, and to go to a place where there's so much poverty and so much need, and to remember that I have absolutely nothing to worry about, nothing to fear. I live in a country where there's resources. We have some resources we don't want to use, but they're there, and the people in Haiti have absolutely nothing. So it just absolutely just helped me release it. And one of the things that Greg Bradshaw, when he talked to us, you know, he said, what is it that you fear the most? And can you release that to God? So that was such a huge blessing in my life. He also said, there is no hope for Haiti outside of God. And that's absolutely true. But it's true for all of us. There is no hope for any of us outside of God. And when God is our focus, that's when we have hope. I had the joy in our little VBSs that we did to tell one of the two stories. And we told the story about the Good Shepherd. And the emphasis that we put on our stories was that when the shepherd left the 99 to seek the one that was lost, it was because each one matters to God. And the joy I had was to be able to stare at those beautiful little faces that just suck up the love. They just want that attention and that love. And I would be able to stare in their little eyes that were staring, a lot of them, so intently at mine, and tell them, God would leave the 99 for you. God cares about you. It doesn't matter if he has everybody else. If he doesn't have you, then he's not satisfied. And that's the message of hope for Haiti. This picture is a little boy named Shelton. And one of the crafts that we did was this little fan. And it's a little sheep, and it has our memory verse that we had on there. And, you know, this was the one, some of the coloring sheets ended up on the floor, but you didn't see the fans because these were kind of more special. Shelton was one of the ones that I looked at when I was telling my story, and I saw him just staring intently in my eyes. And when he did this craft, when he was finished, he called me over. And he handed it out to me, and he pointed to me. And I called the interpreter over, and he said, "I want you to have this." And so I had him sign it, and I took a picture of him. But the entire day, he just kept looking into my eyes, and I think he was just feeding off of that hope that God cares for Shelton just like he cares for every single person in Haiti. And it was just a joy. If you're thinking about it, just do it. What do you fear? Give it to God, and then let him use you, because that's how we get outside of ourselves.
Amen. Can we thank these three again? Thank you, guys. All right, I'm going to go ahead and call up our little question and answer panel. So Sherry, Jeff, Eric, and Julie, if you want to come up here. So we've got a few veterans, and then Jeff, this was Jeff's first trip to Haiti, so we got a newbie also. So I've already been getting a few questions here that are coming in by text. And so you guys can use that mic and pass it around. So anybody can jump on this. But the first question here is, does Connect 2 ever have medical trips, and is medical help needed there? Does one of you want to take that? Sherry passes it right along.
I don't know specifically. I mean, I'm sure they do. He speaks of it all the time. I do know that on the trip that John and I had went on, the October trip, they had it wasn't at the compound, but it was at a different location where they had a medical outreach program. And there's Dawn, I believe is her name, works there too. She's a medical facility person, and she probably goes down there often. And they do quite a bit of medical outreach. I just had the one experience myself.
Can I add to that? Yeah, go ahead. They do have a clinic, at Pastor Poesis that is open 5 days a week now. So there is care that is given to the children or the families that come for that. But as far as medical trips, mission trips, I have not heard of any. But we definitely should consider something like that.
We haven't done anything with medical as a church, but there are some groups that go down. Like Julie said, the clinic there now, they have a pharmacy and they have a doctor that comes in 5 days a week. They're open, and that's free medical care to the community. That's just people that have no other access to medical care that can come and access that. And so there are teams that go down periodically that work with kids that have different disabilities. They've done trips with Johnny and Friends where they'll fit wheelchairs, crutches, those type of things. They've done eyeglasses and dental trips. So some of those things are happening. We haven't had an opportunity to engage on that specific level yet, but that is a need there for sure. All right, another question here. This is actually for John Denton, and Harold gave him a mic. So John, on a past trip, there was a little girl who had reddish hair due to a vitamin deficiency that you, quote, fell in love with. Was she there this time, and did you connect with her, and is she doing better? You want to respond to that?
Getting sucked right back in. Honestly, I checked with Greg about her over the last. Am I supposed to stand up? Sorry. I checked with Greg about her, and she did get deep into my heart, and I have her picture still on my Facebook, actually. But I will also admit that when you go there once a year and you see all these little tiny, beautiful little black kids, it's hard to tell the difference after a while. But I had heard that she was doing better, and she doesn't have red hair anymore. I haven't seen any kids with that red hair problem in the last 2 years, which is another amazing, awesome thing because they're doing a good job.
Yeah. So the kids, when they have a protein, it's actually that they haven't received enough protein, and so the roots of their hair will start to turn orange because they don't have enough protein in their diet. And Greg was describing to our team about a common practice among the poor that can't feed their families. They'll mix some vegetable oil with dirt and make these little cakes to feed their children. And obviously there's no nutritional value in it at all. It's just to put something in their stomachs so that they can make it through the night. And that's horrible to think about. And so some of these orphans that come into their care, they haven't had the right nutrition. And so that's part of the program, is getting them healthy, getting them on the vitamins and protein that they need. So, all right. Another question to our panel here is, how does the Haitian government view the work of the church? And is there any government interference? Anybody want to take that? They all look at each other. I love that.
I don't think the Haitian government opposes the help of the church in Haiti. And from my experience, or our experience, I don't think there's been any opposition to what Pastor Poise or Connect 2 is doing. As a matter of fact, they bring the orphan children to Connect 2 for their help. So they view this as a good thing, which it is. And if anything, I would ask all of you guys to pray for the government, because that's where the problem starts. So pray for salvation. Pray the Lord do a mighty work in each and every one of them.
Yeah, I asked Greg, where are these kids coming from? Are you going in, is the church going into places and pulling these kids out and rescuing them? And he said, no, it is actually a great partnership that they have with the government. And they have something like our Child Protective Services. It's I can't remember the name of it. It's like Battalion for the Mistreatment of Children or something like that. And so they're the ones that actually will go in and remove a child and bring it to the orphanage there. And so there is a great partnership. But Julie's right. There's so much corruption that takes place. There's bribery and all kinds of things that undercut the really helping the people. So it's a challenging environment.
May I say one more thing?
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry. There's an estimated 800,000 orphan children, truly orphaned. And there's over 1 million orphans in the orphanages. There's like 760 orphanages. Those children that are not truly orphaned are brought into the orphanages because their parents cannot afford them. So they give them to the orphanage, sometimes for money, sometimes for not. But what is happening is there's a lot of orphanages that are not true orphanages, and these orphans go in the front door and out the back door into slavery. They're sold into slavery. That's another thing you can pray about.
Yeah. So last question here is, did you create a written curriculum on how to develop a children's program, or was it more of mentoring? So, Sherry, I'll let you take that. Go ahead.
Yes, we did. John worked really hard on it and developed something, and we did leave it, and hopefully the church, Pastor Poise's church, will be able to translate it all into Creole. I will just say the training was an awesome day, and John just did an excellent job, and the leaders from the churches were really into it, and it was such a privilege to be part of the VBS the following days and have 2 churches with us each day, and those leaders taking what was taught to them on Tuesday and put into practice. And one of the church, I'll just say real quick, one of the churches, pastor was there at the training, and then he brought 3 people with him to one of the VBS days. His name was Pastor Legrand. And some of you will remember at the December trip, he was brand new. Greg Barshaw wanted us to go to that church. We got there, and it was utter confusion, and actually turned into a real mob scene. And outside of the outside gate that we were at, there was estimated around 1,500 people trying to get into this little closed area. And people were coming over the walls, and then people inside were batting them off with bamboo sticks. And we weren't really able to do our VBS that day because we just couldn't we tried, we started, we just couldn't quite get it under control. And that pastor has been on my heart since, because he was so excited to have us there and to have the children in his community have this program. And he was one of them that came to the training. And then he came to one of the VBSs with his leaders, and they participated, watched how it was done. And then as we were leaving that day, he talked to a few of us and just said, "Thank you, I now know what to do, and we're going to do this at our church." And I thought that was the goal, so it was exciting.
Yeah, Sherry here has over 16 years of children's ministry experience. And so we were able to draw on that, and yeah. And so we were able to draw on that and put some of that down on paper and hand that to them. We also were able to give them a box of resources that they, during our workshop, they created their own VBS program. We walked them through the steps, and they actually did it with their team. And by the end of the day, they left with a box of resources to go and do the VBS that they had just planned. And so it was pretty cool. So can you say thank you to our panel here? There was actually there was one other question there that I'm going to end with, and that was there was a question of are gifts to Connect to tax deductible, and they are. It's a registered nonprofit, and there's actually a card on your seat there that is a sponsorship card, and there's some information there about how you can sponsor a child. Now, when you sponsor a child, they're caring for about 90 kids right now in the Regency Orphanage. They're going to double that in the coming months. Hopefully by the beginning of the year, they will have doubled that. And so this is not necessarily for a specific child, but it goes to support those orphanages and to care for those children that were in slavery. And so if you'd like to give towards that, this is an opportunity. And you can jot down your info and send it directly to Connect To. You can put your credit card information on there, and you can drop it in one of the boxes as you leave, and we'll forward that on to them. Or you can give through Antioch if you'd like to, and just designate that, and we'll make sure it gets to them. But we would love to continue to partner with them in that way. Well, you've heard us talk about the issue of slavery, and you've heard us talk about the issue of fear. And one of the things that is incredible to see there is when you look into the faces of these kids, and you imagine the circumstances that they came from, and then you see the joy on their faces, that these are God's kids. These are kids that are going to be the church planters and the worship leaders and the ministry leaders of the next generation. And they don't have to fear anymore. For us, we'll never experience that kind of fear, but there's other things that hold us back. There's things that hold us back from going overseas, but there's things that hold us back from going next door. There's things that hold us back from engaging and stepping into mission right here in our city. And so we're going to close with a song that talks about, I'm no longer a slave to fear. I'm a child of God. And we're going to sing that in English, and then we're going to sing that in Creole too. And we're going to declare God that we're not afraid, and we're going to take God's message to the ends of the earth, starting with our own neighborhoods. So would you stand with me? We're going to sing that together. Lord Jesus, I thank you for all that you're doing in Haiti. I thank you for all that you're doing in us and in our city, in our neighborhoods, in our Simi Valley, in our little corner of the world. Lord God, I pray that you would move our hearts to compassion, but you'd move us to action as well. That you do something in us that compels us to be your ambassadors, that compels us to share your love with the people around us. Lord, we thank you once again for the opportunity to be a part of your kingdom, expanding to the corners of the world. And we worship you in Jesus' name. Amen.